So now we are going to take a look at diet. All right, diet and its nutritional value. Okay, please understand what the topic is. Diet and its nutritional value. Nutritional value. The diet that you take must have certain value in terms of nutrition. So it's nutrition value. So first of all, let's get our definition or meaning of diet correctly. So what constitutes diet? So what constitutes diet? Diet, when you say diet, what are you saying? When you tell somebody diet, so what are you saying? All right. From the biological point of view, diet refers to all food, all right, all classes of food that you consume. Okay, all classes of food or various food. You can various classes of food consumed. That is your diet. And the amount consumed, the amount of each class consumed. That is diet. What is your diet? So when I ask you what is your diet, that means what did you eat and how much you ate. That's your diet. So now what is balanced diet? What is balanced diet? So balanced diet, all right. So when you use the word balanced diet, the word balance carries a whole new meaning. So balanced diet refers to consumption of all 7 classes of food. That means here you must realize all the food that you say you're eating, they can be grouped into 7 classes. So a balanced diet contains, you can say contains or consumption, contains, when you say balanced diet, contains all 7 classes of food. That's a balanced diet. All right, that's the main point. So when I say what you're eating is a balanced diet. So when I say what you're eating is a balanced diet, that means you're eating all 7 classes of food. That means whatever you're eating consists of all the 7 classes of food. But is that the only point? No. There are 2 points to the balanced diet. 1, contains all 7 classes of food. And number 2, in the correct proportion. In the correct proportion. In the correct proportion. Okay. That means carbohydrate must be in a certain proportion. Lipid must be in a certain proportion. In fact, for a normal diet, for a normal person, carbohydrate should be of the highest proportion because carbohydrate gives us energy, and energy is the one that we need the most. The next should be protein, and lipid should be the least. Okay. Next should be, in fact, vegetables and fruits to come, and then comes proteins. All right. Okay. So that is what it means by balanced diet and diet. All right. The next question, is a balanced diet of one person the same for another person? That means, is your balanced diet and my balanced diet the same? Definitely not. My age is different. Your age is different. You have yet to grow and your growth rate is very high. My growth rate is very low. Mine is more of maintenance. So therefore, our diet will not be the same. The diet of a construction worker and a diet of a pregnant woman will not be the same. A diet of a person who's suffering from sickness, for example, diabetic patients, and the diet of a normal person will not be the same. Diet of a 17-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy will not be the same. Diet of a big-sized man and a diet of a small-sized man will not be the same. Therefore, a balanced diet does differ from one person to another in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of occupation, in terms of whether a person has disease or not. So it differs from one person to another person. That is why if you go into clinics or hospitals, if you go to hospitals, visit a patient or something, sometimes at the bedside you will have a chart, all right, which will notify his diet. Because he's suffering from a certain disease, therefore he can't eat the normal food like what we eat. It has to be a tailor-made, all right, based on its disease. So as I said, so a balanced diet does differ from one person to another. All right. Now, there is such thing as what we call a food guide pyramid. A food guide pyramid. What does this do? A food guide pyramid, all right, is shaped in the form of a pyramid, all right, and divided into many sections. And we have the understanding that the food guide pyramid puts down, displays, and shows the various type of food a person should consume. And the understanding of the food guide pyramid is the food that is present in the lowest bracket here, the lowest region, the lowest region here, the lowest sector here, will be or must be the food that must be consumed at the highest, consumed most abundantly, at the highest proportion, followed by this, and this is the food that must be consumed least. That's the understanding of arranging the food in the form of a food guide pyramid. So in the form of a good food guide pyramid, the food is arranged according to priority of consuming, according to the amount to be consumed. All right. So a person's balanced diet can be presented in the form of a food guide pyramid. So remember, if the food is given in the form of a food guide pyramid, the understanding is that must be the most abundantly consumed food, followed by this, and so on. So in a normal person, growing person such as you, so this section should be occupied by carbohydrates, followed by roughage and vitamins, followed by proteins, and maybe here comes lipids. All right, it should be like that. Okay, that is. Now, what are our 7 classes of food? All right, so why do we need all these 7 classes of food, and why should it be in the correct proportion? Because, all right, you need nutrients and you need energy for growth and for survival, for our daily actions. We need, okay, energy and nutrients. So the 7 classes of food is to supply us with adequate amount of nutrient and energy. Okay, all right. Now the 7 classes are: number 1, of course, carbohydrate. I put it in short form. Number 2, proteins. Number 3, lipids. These are the main 3 ones. Okay. Then you have your vitamins. Then you have your mineral ions. You have that. So that makes 5 altogether. Okay. Then you have what we call dietary fiber. Do not say fiber. Use the word dietary fiber or use the word roughage. That makes it 6. And the final one, which many of you do not know, is water. Water itself is 1 class of food. So this is what constitutes 7 classes of food. So let me remind you. So why does a balanced diet of one person differ from another? Because the energy requirement of each person is different. So since the energy requirement is different, as I told you, I pointed out just now, and that is why the balanced diet of one person differs from the another. So in what way the energy requirement differs? That's where I told you about the gender, like a 17-year-old boy and a 17-year-old girl, the energy requirement is not the same. A sick person and a healthy person, energy requirement is not the same. A 60-year-old man and a 10-year-old boy, energy requirement is not the same. A largely built man and a small-sized man, energy requirement is again not the same. A teacher who is teaching and a construction worker, energy requirement is again not the same. So that is why each of them have different balanced diet. Okay. All right. Now we come to the nutritional value. So the nutritional value, here we will look into 2. 1, energy value. 2, percentage of vitamin C. Okay, percentage of vitamin C in our diet. Okay, so these are the 2 in your syllabus that you must know. So what's the energy value? Okay, what is the energy value? So here the energy value is restricted or limited to 3 food class, mainly carbohydrate, lipids, and proteins. Okay, carbohydrate, lipids, and proteins. So energy value here will be only limited to these 3 food. Okay, so what's the definition of energy value? Energy value is defined as the amount of energy. The amount of energy, okay, contained. All right. So this amount of energy must be in kilojoule. Okay. The amount of energy in kilojoule that is contained in a foodstuff. All right. But of course, we have to standardize all that. So we just can't say contained in a foodstuff. So we have to give a certain standard. So we choose 1 gram. So 1 gram, okay, that means the amount of energy in kilojoule present in 1 gram of any food that you're talking about. Okay, if you're talking about carbohydrate, 1 gram of carbohydrate. If you're talking about protein, 1 gram of protein. And you're talking about lipid is 1 gram of lipid. That's our understanding. That's our energy value. But is that how we obtain the energy value? No, we do not obtain the energy value that way. But that is what we want to find out. So how do we obtain it? We obtain it by taking 1 gram of carbohydrate or 1 gram of protein or 1 gram of lipid, and we completely oxidize it. So when you completely oxidize it, the energy that is released in the form of heat energy. And heat energy, and we calculate the heat energy that is released for 1 gram of food that is completely oxidized. We calculate that heat energy in terms of kilojoule, and we use that and we say this is the energy value. Because if it can release that amount of heat energy, therefore it must contain that amount of heat energy. Therefore, the definition of energy value is based on how we obtained it. All right, but it's the same meaning. It's the amount of energy that 1 gram of food contains. But since we do not obtain it that way, all right, we use the way we obtain it as a definition. So we say it's amount of energy in kilojoule, all right, that is provided per gram. Okay, that's provided by 1 gram of food when the food is completely oxidized. So amount of energy in kilojoule, okay, provided by 1 gram of food when it is completely oxidized. So to completely oxidize it, usually we oxidize it in excess oxygen. Okay, this is the definition. Now the idea of how do we get that? So to obtain that, we use a little bit of concept that we use the concept of what we learned in physics. So we take a boiling tube. Okay, we take a boiling tube. We fill this boiling tube with water, reasonable amount of water. So let's say we have 20 ml of water. We have 20 ml of water here. Okay, all right. So we use distilled water. Okay, and then we mount a needle, a large needle. We mount a large needle, and we mount it using a plasticine. So this is plasticine. Okay, all right, that's a plasticine. And then that's a large needle. Say we mount it. Okay, and then that's a test tube containing water. All right, and then we hold this test tube using a retorт stand. So that's your retorт stand. Okay, this is boiling tube, sorry, not test tube. And then we put in our thermometer. That's our thermometer. Okay, then we place our food stuff here. All right, so of course we are not going to calculate 1 gram and put there. Usually this food stuff will be n gram. Okay, that means whatever food stuff or pinch of food stuff you take, but measure it, measure the mass exactly and put it there. All right, then we ignite this food stuff, okay, and make sure that it burns completely. All right, the concept is as it burns completely, it is going to release heat, and our idea is all the heat that is released is absorbed by the water. Of course, you know there is a certain amount of heat loss to the surroundings because not everything 100% will not be absorbed by water. So within the limitations of the experiment, this is considered as quite a reliable experiment. That means whatever heat loss you can ignore, even then we are able to have a reliable result. So this is what we think. So our idea is whatever heat that is released is absorbed by the water. So we, using the temperature rise in water and using the formula Q equals to mc theta, where this is the mass of water. So what we have is the volume of water. Remember, the density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube. So which means for every 1 centimeter cube, which is also equal to 1 milliliter, 1 centimeter cube is 1 milliliter, the mass will be 1 gram. So since it's 20 milliliter, because in bio we use more of milliliter, in chemistry we use more of centimeter cube, but they're both equivalent. I've already given you that. So therefore it must have 20 grams. So that's how we get the mass as 20 grams. So for simplicity, we can say whatever the volume of water, that's the mass. The C will be given to you. Normally, we will use 4.2, all right? Sometimes the examiner will give you 4.18. So if it's 4.18, use 4.18. So normally they'll give you 4.2, and this theta is the maximum rise in temperature. Definitely the temperature will rise because heat is released and absorbed. So maximum temperature rise, I'm going to put it as theta, all right? Calculate and you'll get in joules. All right, now you find the energy value. So the energy value will be for 1 gram. So the Q that you calculated using the formula O, you divide by your M. This, all right, this mass. So there are 2 masses here. 1 mass of water that is used in the calculation of Q. 1 that is the mass of foodstuff which is used here. So you divide with the mass of the foodstuff. This will give you kilojoule per gram. So to obtain kilojoule, you got to divide the Q with 1000. So this Q will be in joules. So you divide by 1000, you will get it in kilojoule, and that's how you get kilojoule per gram. These are the steps in the calculation of energy value. All right.